there's 11 days left until your deadline. I understand it's a moving target. I understand it's difficult, but you got to get the show on the road here. And that's kind of the crux of the matter.
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Monday, June 23rd, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, we've got the latest on reconciliation. It is a big week. Number two, Democrats are divided on Trump's Iran moves. And number three, all eyes are on the House oversight race. All right, Jake, happy Monday. Glad to be back. A huge thanks to Max Cohn, who filled in for me over Thursday and Friday morning. Heard he did an amazing job. And if you didn't check out the video that Jake and Brez did, yes, we got Brez on video over the weekend talking about the latest with the U.S. and what's happening with Iran. We would love for you to check that out as well. But let's get into it, Jake. We are all eyes on reconciliation. Of course, this is the big week here. We've got 11 days until July 4th. The stakes couldn't be higher right now when it comes to Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Speaker Mike Johnson. With the bird bath happening, a lot being thrown out, things are really in flux right now.
Big time. The deadline, it's coming up soon, July 4th. I mean, I hate to put it so bluntly, but just 11 days until this self-imposed deadline hits, and a deadline that, by the way, last week we had, I believe it was last week, Susie Wiles on Capitol Hill, the chief of staff to the president, saying that she wants it done by July 4th. Just days before that, J.D. Vance said he wants it done by August. So totally just great sync at the White House over when this should get done. Birdbath is ongoing. This is the process by which the parliamentarian decides what fits in reconciliation, what gets that 51 vote threshold, and what does not. McDonough and her team have already thrown out a ton of, basically the entire Senate banking agenda, including axing all funding for the CFPB, which is a big revenue raiser for Senate and House Republicans. Overnight, we learned that Mike Lee's REINS Act, a reworked version of the REINS Act, was determined to violate the Byrd Rule. This was an effort to give Congress the ability to pull back some regulations. Also, starting today is and by the way, there's a lot of other things decided, but I'm not going to run through all of them because you should read the newsletter. But they include things on SNAP, etc., etc. The Senate Finance Committee's birdbath will be today. That's the big one. That is the tax and Medicaid agenda that is so critical to everybody, to the entirety of the reconciliation package. And this is largely, Anna, out of lawmakers' hands. And I think it's important to notice. This is not something that is, people could exert influence over the parliamentarian. Now, if they get a ruling they don't like from the parliamentarian, they could try to rework the provision, but it's out of their hands, which is difficult.
I mean, this is a process, right? That happens for both sides whenever they try to do reconciliation. There's often a lot of frustration because, of course, Republicans are trying to put as much as they absolutely can get into this vehicle because it is must pass, right?
That's right.
There's not a lot of other activity happening in the chamber, certainly, but it is going to be interesting to see how some of these things that are now no longer going to be part of it. There's been a lot of blows that have been dealt to conservatives here. A lot of the things that they were hoping to kind of push as part of the Trump agenda, defunding CFPB, other things. This comes at a really important time because not only do they have to figure out what is going to be in the final bill, but then you're going to have all of the politics, not only in the Senate, but also in the House.
Yeah, that's right. And so there's a lot of cross-chamber activity. And so there's a bunch of fights right now let's put it this way. There is the Senate Republicans dealing with the parliamentarians' rulings, which, again, out of their hands. There is the Senate Republicans' internal battles over things like Medicaid, SALT, etc. And then there's the House Senate activity, which is difficult also, meaning provider tax, which impacts rural hospitals in the bill. Senate Republicans changed it. They are trying to create a stabilization fund of sorts to help rural hospitals. That's something that is kind of all over the place and is going to have big problems in the House. Then you have SALT. They don't have a SALT decision yet. Again, this is a massive, massive problem. And I know they say they are negotiating it and they're talking to, Mark Wayne Mullins talking to House Republicans. There's 11 days left until your deadline. I understand it's a moving target. I understand it's difficult. But you got to get the show on the road here, and that's kind of the crux of the matter.
I want to just say one thing, because I think
Sure.
when the 11 days, and I think it's important, right? You talked about J.D. Vance being on the Hill, him saying, okay, maybe it's August, right? A former member of the Senate, understanding the rhythms and kind of how things work there. You have Susie Wiles on the Hill. I really wonder, when does President Donald Trump engage here? Right? I mean, that to me, if you look over the past, kind of this Congress, where Congress has defied some of the gravity, that kind of the push of just like, you always take the over, it always takes longer, things are a lot messier, right? Donald Trump, by sheer force, has been able to get cabinet members, push through at a speed with which we've never seen before. Been able to get the Speaker, Mike Johnson, able to get confirmed, even though there were members that had to change their votes on it, right? Does he have the energy and attention to that, considering the fact that, the U.S. is bombing Iran, there's conflict in the Middle East, there's a lot of things happening right now. What do you think? I mean, do you think Trump holds as much sway here as he did 9-10 months ago?
Yes, probably. This is the entirety of his domestic program. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. This is it. This is everything he needs, or everything he wants, all of his priorities. He's got one shot to make it happen, and he needs Congress to pass this. And, I don't know if now is the right time for him to get involved. If they get it on the floor this week, then that's probably the right time for him to get involved. But the real right time for him to get involved is going to be when the House gets this bill again, and they are making major changes because, listen, they are not listening to Mike Johnson right now in his pleas. They're not listening to his pleas to keep this closely aligned with the House bill. They're just not. They made many changes. We reported last week that Johnson was caught flat-footed by the provider tax provision and the rural hospital situation in the Senate bill. So that's when Johnson, the president's going to need to get involved when this gets back to the House, and the House is going around in circles on this, and they're struggling to pass it. That's going to be very difficult.
All right, Jake, on to the number 2 story of the morning. A really interesting look here at Democrats, mixed messages, trying to find alignment here when it comes to what President Donald Trump has done in Iran. What the U.S. posture is going to be going forward. But over the weekend, there was a lot of different, you had AOC, tweeting about impeachment. You had other people saying, hey, it's war powers, some kind of pro-Israel Democrats, maybe not mentioning Trump, but being supportive of the action.
Yeah, this is an incredibly complicated situation. There's two issues at play here. Number one, there's the substance of whether on policy, the United States, whether Donald Trump should have ordered a strike on Iran's nuclear sites. Then there's the question about whether he should have consulted Congress. The second is a legal question. J.D. Vance on the Sunday shows yesterday, at least on Meet the Press, which is what I watched or listened to, I guess, said that that the president was well within his rights to do this without consulting Congress. Then there's the question about whether he should have given a courtesy heads up to members of the Gang of Eight, which is the leadership of the Congress and the leadership of the intelligence committees. That's not required. It is tradition for the president to do something like that. He did brief Mike Johnson. He did brief he gave a courtesy heads up, is what they're describing to some Democrats. So that's at issue here. Now, listen, AOC is calling for Trump to be impeached. He's not going to be impeached over this. I mean, this is an all Republican Congress. Maybe if Democrats take back the majority, they will impeach him. He's not going to be removed from office for this. We could say that with near 100% certainty. It's Monday right now. Tuesday, there's going to be top secret briefings, classified briefings on Capitol Hill, on the Iran situation. This is now a wartime president.
Right.
I don't know if it's not a full war, but Iran is saying it's going to strike back. There's a lot of U.S. troops in the region. And this is a Congress, as I mentioned yesterday on a video I did with Brez and I did in our special edition. This is a Congress that's incredibly wary of foreign entanglements and incredibly wary of the Middle East. And by the way, historically, Donald Trump's been very wary of the Middle East and foreign entanglements.
Yeah, it's an important point you make. And I think the other thing that this item kind of lays out, which is important, is this is just another issue where you have frustration among Democrats with the Democratic leadership, that they are not going hard enough. They're not being forceful enough in opposing the Iran bombing. This is just another time where you feel like there is this tension within the Democratic Party about who's leading, what is the message, are they all on board or not? And clearly there's a variety of kind of a spectrum of support or disillusionment or people that are totally against this effort. But as you know too, it's also important when you think about it, the number of Republicans who aren't necessarily on board, right? You had Marjorie Taylor Greene over the weekend, on X, talking about this. There's a lot of kind of in the mega movement, can Trump get everybody to be supportive of his effort here? If he's successful, maybe, but time will only tell if this becomes much more protracted or the U.S. faces losses because of an Iranian strike back. This gets really complicated really fast, Jake.
Yeah, and just one more thing on this point. The War Powers Resolution, this is going to get a vote in the House and Senate. It has privilege in both chambers, which means it can get a vote without the leadership kind of pushing for it. This is going to be a complicated vote for both House and Senate Republicans, because there are going to be some House Republicans, and by the way, Democrats too, but there are going to be a lot of lawmakers who will struggle over this vote. And on the global stage, it's difficult to see a legislature of any country not back the president in a time of war, although this isn't a full-blown war for the United States. This was a kinetic military action. The United States bombed sites in Iran. Iran did not attack the United States in this instance, but has been hostile to the United States. This is a very big moment for Congress, the world stage, and Donald Trump.
All right, let's go to the number 3 story of the morning. The battle for the top Democratic slot on the House Oversight Committee ends Tuesday, and it is Representative Robert Garcia, the Democrat from California's Toulouse. Ali Mutnick has a really good item here looking at how Garcia has basically locked down a lot of support in a race that there were a lot of people vying for it. Of course, it's not a done deal. He'll be meeting with the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee today. Tomorrow, there will be another vote by the in secret ballot. So that always, where the votes line up and secret ballots always makes it very interesting. We've covered a lot of these, Jake. What say you?
Yeah, listen, this is another generational battle in the House Democratic Caucus. I mean, let's be completely clear about that. It's just a huge, Stephen Lynch is running, Jasmine Crockett's running, Kwesi Mfume's running. It's a big battle. And this is an important position because it is the top seat on the biggest oversight committee for Capitol Hill and for Democrats in the House of Representatives. So something that we will be keeping a close eye on as it runs to its conclusion.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media. Tell your friends. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. We'd love to hear how you think the video is going as well. You can email us directly on that. We're taking notes. As always, you can sign up for our free morning newsletter at punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.